system.
Welcome to the Batcave.
That's the Batmobile and the Batcomputer.
Who's the new kid?
John, this is Batman's son, Damian.
Well, he's obviously not invulnerable.
Reminds me of us when we first met. I was nicer.
What's going on, guys? Bart here with Totally Television, and today we're going to be getting into a DC animated movie review by the name of Supersons. But before we get into all that, I want to thank all of you for stopping by, liking, commenting, sharing all that beautiful YouTube stuff. It really does mean a lot to us here. Of course, every little interaction does help us get into that algorithm and grow our community. But without further ado, let's get into Supersons, DC's animated film that came out in 2022. It was directed by Matt Peters, written by Jeremy Adams, Jack Dylan Grazer is Jonathan Kent, Jack Griffo is Damian Wayans, Laura Bailey is Lois Lane, Troy Baker is Batman, Travis Willingham is Superman, Darren DePaul is President Lex Luthor, Nolan North is Jor-El, and there's appearances by Green Arrow, Jimmy Olsen, and Wonder Girl. As the name suggests, this animated film movie follows the adventures or misadventures of Superman and Batman's son, Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayans. We start off with Jonathan being raised at the Kent farm in Smallville. He's living a pretty mundane life. He's on the baseball team. He struck out in the big game, and his dad wasn't there, Clark, because he was, busy saving the world. And at this point, Jonathan is unaware that his dad is Superman until his birthday, when Clark didn't show up, and it was like really like why he's thinking he's just a news reporter. So he's like, why is writing the news so much more important than being at my birthday party? Like, what is going on here? And in the general sense, I would agree with that. You know what I mean? Unless you're exposing some sort of national or global threat, uh, if you're just writing about puppy shows over at Metropolis, maybe you should be at your son's birthday party. But we secretly know why Clark is not there. Until Lois and Clark finally agreed to tell Jonathan about his powers, because when Clark came to talk to Jonathan, Jonathan ran off, into the cornfield just to, angst. He had heat vision coming out of his eyes, and he thought that the father wouldn't understand what's going on, until Clark was like, no, Jonathan, look, I understand. And it's him in his Superman costume just floating like, it's time to talk. And of course, Jonathan, like any 11, 12-year-old, would be super pumped to find out that their dad is Superman. His favorite hero is Batman, so that must have always been a little nudged in Superman's heart, like, you little you Batman? Not even like Green Lantern, like, of course, Superman's main rival, friendly rival, of course, frenemies sometimes. But in the process, Jonathan gets to meet Batman and Robin, Damian Wayans, and they're kind of talking about this or that. Jonathan's kind of starting to get into his powers. and we do see a scene in this time of the Watchtower up in space, manned only by Green Arrow, and something hit it to make it start crashing down to Earth. Superman was able to save the Watchtower and Green Arrow, and then go off to the next mission. But in that initial damage to the Watchtower, there was something that got on and overtook Green Arrow, and eventually the heroes that went to go check on the Watchtower. Uh, which brings us up to date about Batman and Superman talking about the Watchtower. Superman explaining to him that he told Green Arrow to tell Batman what was going on, but being that Batman was like, yeah, Ali never got in touch with me, that prompted them to go up to the Watchtower after dropping Johnathan off at home. Damian stayed in the Batcave to do. He was trying to get on the Teen Titans, and he was rejected, and he was trying to act like it didn't bother him, but it obviously did. And we find out that Batman and Superman were overtaken by the same thing that was overtaking Green Arrow. We find out that it's Starro coming to try to invade our planet and take over, use its resources and its people, then move on to the next available planet. The reason why we're able to come across this information is that Batman came back to try to infect Damian, but Damian was able to fight Batman off long enough to find out what the grand plan is, go grab Jonathan Kent, and then try to save their dads and everyone else that's been affected. At this point, we find out that Superman's infected, Batman's infected, Green Arrow, the Teen Titans are infected because they went to go check also what was going on. I'm assuming Batman and Superman hit a distress signal for anyone to come, and then they would just take them out, or so to speak, or take control of them. We see Damien picking Jonathan up at school. He got in trouble for getting into a fight with the local bully who always bothers him, and he was told by the principal. So we have to try to make friends with those that we don't understand, because they're going through a lot more than we are realizing, and they just need a friend. But Jonathan is not understanding that concept yet. But he will through Damien, because him and Damien are vastly different personalities and approaches to life, crime fighting, everything. We have to realize that Damien was raised by the League of Shadows and Raja Ghul and Talia Ghul. He is the perfect weapon, and he is also Batman's son. So you build in that intelligence and drive and motivation, and Damian Wayans is one of the most possible dangerous characters that you can get in the DC Comics era. I know not many people like him, but I think that that's the whole point to his character, is for him to be arrogant and then obnoxious. But at the end of the day, good natured, good hearted. At the end of the day, we see also Jonathan realizing that not everything can be so cut and dry. There is shades of gray in between, and through these two different dichotomies, the boys have learned to bond, work together, and go from not liking each other to sitting there at the end and willing to both go down together, both sacrificing their lives for the greater good, for their fathers to survive, and to make sure that the hive mind of Starro gets eliminated. It's only through their work and effort that the control that the main Starro hive mind had on the planet that was able to be disconnected because of them, giving Batman and Superman the opportunity to uh, regain their senses. Superman goes and saves the boys from the crashing Watchtower orbit, and we think that everything is fine and dandy. Everyone is realizing, yay, we did it. But Starro comes back one last time out of the lake, giant lake that he crashed into. And now, not only do we get to see the next generation of heroes fighting together, we see them fighting with their fathers. And we see some nice little tag team action with Damian and Bruce, and then with Clark and Jonathan. And a callback to earlier in the movie where Jonathan struck out at the big game. Clark throws Starro to Jonathan. Jonathan grabs a big old tree and hits Starro out into outer space, hitting a home run, so to speak. Not only redeeming himself, but saving the world in the process. And we see, after everything settles down, we see Damien and Jonathan hanging out together on a water tower at the Kent farm, I believe. And Damien and them basically say, what should we call each other, ourselves, whatever. What about the dynamic duo? And Damien's like, no, 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 that's Batman and Robin only, not us. And he's like, how about the Supersons? Because Jonathan suggested Teen Titans. He's like, no, we want something for ourselves. We're the coolest, so we need the coolest name. And he winds up choosing the Supersons. They decide to keep that. Um, I thought that this was a really, really well written story. It shows again the progression of two people who begin to not like each other, but eventually having a healthy respect and even a great lasting friendship in the end. I find sometimes those different personalities do tend to come together because it keeps yourself in checks and balances, especially if it's with people that really care about you or see that you're a well-intentioned person. I thought the animation style is a little different than what I'm used to in older DC animated movies, but it's not a bad animation style. It's just definitely more modern. Um, yeah, I like it. I like it. It's just again a different feel from me remembering these movies and these DC shows back in the day. But it doesn't, like I said, doesn't really take away from it. I like it. It's just a different art style. That's our different animated style. I don't know what to exactly call it. It just looks more modern than just differently drawn, which is fine. I think it makes it unique upon itself compared to the other projects DC has put out in their animated films. I've always loved DC animated films. I thought they were way better than Marvel's animation stuff, but I always thought that Marvel's live action stuff was a bit better than DC's. So they're 1-1 against each other in that regard, in my opinion. But yeah, I definitely give this an 8 out of 10. Of course, you're gonna call what happens next because it does the standard tropes of these type of uh, I don't like you, now I like you, and now we're best friend movies. Um, I thought most of the jokes landed. I like the um, the enthusiasm, the enthusiastic approach to life that Jonathan has, and I like the realistic approach to life that Damien has, where he knows, like, I hope for the best, but I have to expect the worst too. I'm ready. Um, it just was really well. You got to see the sons go against their fathers too, which I thought was pretty cool. This movie, I will call it an 8 out of 10. I thought the animation was well. I thought the voice acting was pretty well done. I thought the whole concept of how they were able to come together and like the reasoning why, made sense. Um, that even though they didn't want to work together at first or didn't get along at first, it was through the greater sacrifice of themselves to save not only the fathers but the world, and them realizing that at such a young age, that with these things you have to sacrifice, and they were willing to sacrifice at the end. And not many adults are willing to do that. Forget about children, who are very selfish creatures at the end of the day. Um, I can't wait to see if they make a sequel to this. I'd be willing to want to see a sequel to this. I think that would be fun to see this cast come back together, and and these two young men to come back together. They entered manhood together, so to speak, or young adults, yeah, yeah, or going into their formative years together or on almost the same page. It's going to be interesting to see their dynamic down the road if they continue with these movies. Um, that's my thoughts on Supersons. Go check it out. I want to thank you for stopping by, and until next time, peace, Nookums.